Welcome to Player Profiler Today. I'm your host, Jake. You can follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Louis Lewis 5. Today I'm going to be covering league championship winners at each position, as well as the league losers. And finally, covering the last Monday Night Football game of the season between the Detroit Lions and San Francisco 49ers. Let's get fantasy. My top story of the day is league winners. What a year to be alive, 2024. So many ups and downs from studs to duds to not performing to where we drafted them to injuries to the top pick like Christian McCaffrey. But we'll look at each position and cover who I think is a league winner this year. A couple things about this. You had to play all 3 weeks in fantasy football for the fantasy playoffs the past 3 weeks 15, 16, and 17. If you have a week 18 championship league, I feel sorry. I would get rid of that as soon as possible, or take a league vote on next year of just making it 15, 16, 17. A couple of these positions also, I have 2 players listed just because it depends on how they perform in tonight's split or game. And also, I don't use the regular season in consideration for me picking my league winners. I should probably maybe next week I should do who performed amazing throughout the regular season, give my fantasy awards. If you think that, just drop a like and let me know if that's something you guys want to hear or see. Also, I could say who played like crap and deserved to be crapped on for the league awards. But without further ado, I will start today at quarterback. I'm going to start with my number 1 choice is Baker Mayfield. In the playoffs, the stretch he's been on is QB5 in week 15, 6 and 16, and currently is now QB2 during the championship week, which is huge. He's been a man on the mission all season long. I mean, you took away his top wide receivers early on in the season with Mike Evans being hurt, and Chris Godwin was having a phenomenal year, and he got hurt as well, missing the rest of the season. He was close matchup, this last few weeks, making him throw the ball. Also, his Buccaneers are playing for a playoff spot, which I think now they control their own destiny. If they win, they're in. Actually win the division now because of the Atlanta Falcons losing last night in overtime. So they had no other choice but to throw the ball. Just listen to these numbers in the last 3 weeks. 950 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, while only having 2 interceptions. He also added 69 yards rushing on the ground. It's not a lot, but you add that up, that's 3 points almost a game. But these are the type of performances you want in fantasy playoffs and secure that championship for you. And that's why he is, to me, a league winner. The other quarterback I will mention, though, it's based on tonight's performance, is Jared Goff. He has been great all season, but after David Montgomery went out in week 15, Goff finished that week 15, as quarterback 2, quarterback 3 last week. So it depends on what he does tonight. Couldn't make him the overall league winner. If he, falls out of the top 12, I'm not going to consider him the league winner, especially because we need him in the championship week. But if he falls in the top 10, that's definitely probably the league winner over Baker Mayfield. In the last 2 weeks, he's put up 494 yards passing and 336 yards passing, 830 yards passing with 8 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. He has been dominating in the last 2 starts, but it all comes down to tonight's performance to be my overall league winner. What do you guys think in the chat? Let me know. Do you think he's going to surpass uh, Baker Mayfield for the league winner? He faces a tough matchup in San Fran. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Next is the running back position, which has been hard because there's not a lot of running backs that's put up 3 studly performances in 3 straight weeks, besides maybe Derrick Henry early in the season. Same with Saquon Barkley early in the season, but also Josh Jacobs before the playoffs started. But I have 2 as well, just like this quarterback position that I have to say. My first one is if you survive week 1 of the playoff with this performance, or if you had a bye week and you had a just good team and you got a bye week during week 15 or fantasy playoffs, would definitely be Jonathan Taylor. Yes, he finished week 15 as RB 27, just outside of being an RB2, but week 16 and 17, he is currently the number 1 overall running back in both weeks. I must consider him as a league winner, just putting up back-to-back weeks as the number 1 overall. But we also have to remember, if he didn't pull an idiot move, dropping the ball on the 1-inch yard line, and if he would scored a touchdown week 15, he would have been a top 10 running back that week. I know alone, or just that play alone in Yahoo Fantasy, I think mentioned is like 7% people drop with that drop lost their matchups that week. But if you survived, that's 3 straight weeks. I mean, 2 straight weeks as complete overperforming. But if you didn't make that bonehead play, man, that could have been huge. So hopefully you survive that first week, and in the last 2 weeks you are in love with Taylor. During that 3-week span, though, he had 450 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. So he is averaging 150 yards and almost 2 touchdowns per game. Of his 1,254 yards rushing on the season, these last 3 weeks accounted for 36% of that. Also, he only has he scored 5 times. He only has 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. That can right there accounted for 50% of his touchdowns the last 3 weeks. If you survive week 1 of the playoffs, he's got to be labeled as a league winner. But this guy will jump over him as long as he performs tonight, just like the quarterback, Jared Goff. Based on his performance tonight, Jahmir Gibbs is who I'm talking about. He figured he had the offense run through him and Jared Goff after Dave Montgomery is out for the season. Coach Dan Campbell even came out and said he's our bell cow. He's our workhorse running back for the rest of the season. And he's put up great numbers. In the last 2 weeks, he has 140 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns, but he is a big contribute factor in the receiving game, having 9 catches, 128 yards, and another touchdown to go with it. These stats have made Gibbs finish as a RB2 and RB7 overall. So depending on his performance, just like Jared Goff, we might be saying he's a league winner if he finishes in the top 10, I would say, just because, 2 and 7 and a 10 is better than a 27 1-1. It's you got to be consistent to be a league winner, in my opinion. So if he finishes in the top 10 after tonight's performance, I give him the league winner over Taylor. Now on to wide receiver. In his first, I'm only going to name one because I'll say honorable mention is T. Higgins, where he finished wide receiver 15-14 and is currently number 1. But I just can't give him the nod over this player. In his first time being in fantasy playoffs, this player has dominated. He is a rookie, and as a rookie, he's been special ever since Mac Jones has took over for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brian Thomas Jr. Over the last 5 games, he has been spoon-feeding getting spoon-fed targets. 59 targets in the last 5 weeks. 37 of those 59 have came during the fantasy playoffs. He has finished wide receiver 4, 3, and now championship week, he is wide receiver 10 on the week. I mentioned him in the last couple weeks that he is a difference maker, and he is my league winner by far for wide receiver position. For a rookie to finish here, I love it. Love to see it. I know, even like tight ends, the last 2 years, a rookie has finished tight end 1 overall. But I consider, Thomas being the man to get. He's just a league winner, in my opinion. Also, I consider him a top 8 dynasty wide receiver currently. I don't consider anyone else here to top Brian Thomas Jr. Like I said, I mentioned T. Higgins would be maybe the closest, but I have to give Thomas Jr. the nod. Finally, at tight end position, I have 2 as well. One being Mark Andrews. Just when you were giving up on him in the beginning of the year, during fantasy playoff week, he puts up tight end 9, 8, and 6. He had a touchdown each one of those performances. That's why he probably got elevated at the tight end position. Those touchdowns come in handy to separate tight ends. I mean, he only averaged 3 catches, 43 yards during the playoffs, but he had a touchdown in each one, making him average 13.3 points per game in PPR leagues. So he's been Mr. Consistent because besides him, everyone else was really, they had a couple top 10 finishes and then a tight end 20 or, so just to find somebody with consistent 3 straight games of good performances, it just had to be Mark Andrews. But I think he gets over Trump by this player. Just like Gibbs and Goff, depending on his performance tonight, it has to be no other than Sam LaPorta. He was a tight end 1 last year overall, like I said. But this year in fantasy playoffs, he finished as tight end 3 and tight end 6. What does he finish this week? If he finishes a top 10, even top 12, I'd probably give him the nod over Mark Andrews as being the league winner. That's 3 guys from the Detroit Lions. This team has just been remarkable all season long, and coming into the fantasy playoffs, even Amon-Ra St. Brown has been relatively good in the fantasy playoffs last week. Even Jameson Williams contributed last week with a big, huge 100-yard plus performance and touchdown. But it all depends on what they do tonight. Hey, chat, who did I leave out? Like, leave in the comments who you think I left out as the league champions or league winners. I want to know your input. I'm going to cover the league losers after we hear a word from the Podfather.
Oh, incredible news about Fast Draft. Fast Draft DFS is live. It's called the Flex 6 Frenzy. You just draft 6 guys, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends for the Sunday slate. You like Jahmir Gibbs? You like Jackson Smith and Jigba? You like Tyrone Tracy? Draft him, draft him, draft him. And the beauty is you can just order 5 teams, submit your rankings, and Fast Draft will email you the results. We awarded $1,000 in prizes our first week, and we're just going up from there. Soon it's going to be a select 6. No drafting at all. You just pick any 6 guys. Our DFS mantra, just say no to salaries on Fast Draft. Don't forget there's free tools on Fast Draft too. You want to get ready for startup season? We've created the best Dynasty mock draft experience there is. And if you want to play in these DFS contests, and our best ball contest for 2025 are coming very soon too, just use promo code PODFATHER when you deposit and you get a free draft. It's that easy. And you're like, oh, I already have Fast Draft. Great. Refer a friend. Have them put your username in as the promo code, and then you and your friend will both get an instant deposit match up to $25. We got DFS. We got Dynasty Mocks. We got Best Ball. It's all there for you on fastdraft.app. Check it out. And the promo code is PODFATHER.
Yeah, do the draft or Fast Draft. Also, you could use mine, Louis Lewis 5. Get yourself up to $25 match. Now, my next story is the league losers. I mean, we can't always have all, sunshine and rainbows, but we got dark skies on this one. To be considered a league loser, you must play it in all 3 fantasy playoff games and be relatively a good player in my eyes. You can't be like Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, that's a dud. That you miss a whole season or whatever the case may be. These players have to stand out and perform like dog crap during the fantasy playoffs. Starting at quarterback is probably the hardest one I had to do. I mean, I could have said CJ Stroud, but he's been just terrible all season, only having 2 top 10 finishes and finishing the fantasy playoffs as quarterback 21, 17, and 30. Just terrible overall. So he could have been easily added to the list of league losers. Actually, I'm going to say all 3 of these guys are league losers I might have. But the other 2, one being Kyler Murray. On the season, he's been the quarterback 11 overall for fantasy, but during the fantasy playoffs, quarterback 22, 13, and 13. It just sucks seeing that because he had plus matchups and he just fell flat on his face. To be outside the top 12 in all 3 of them, it sucked because we expected more. I mean, they faced the Carolina Panthers. I thought he would perform great. I think they faced the Giants during that time, right? Something like that. And just look like dog crap. The other one breaks my heart to say, since I am a Packer fan, but I have to be realistic. Jordan Love, he too, like CJ Stroud, has only 2 top 10 finishes on the season. And I think it was like week 1 and week 4 or 5, whenever he came back from his MCL injury. But during the fantasy playoffs, he finished as quarterback 12, 26, and championship week 20. All 3 of these guys can be labeled as league losers. Which one of these 3 do you consider the most league loser, chat? Like, who do you think is by far the worst player out of those 3? At the running back position, league loser for me was one of the easiest. Actually, the wide receiver position was the easiest, but the running back position was very easy to pick, and that has to be Breece Hall. He had the easiest schedule second half among all running backs, and he put up 3 dud performances, finishing as RB 21, 21, and 30. In redraft leagues, he was the top 8 draft pick. So wanting that, being a top 8 draft pick, you're just kicking himself in the butt. I mean, all season long, he hasn't really been too great. He's been at the beginning of the season, absolutely he has, but after, the head coaching firing, I think he's been kind of crap. I don't know if I can swear on this, but crap. I'm going to say crap. During fantasy playoffs, though, he only averaged 11 points in PPR leagues. So if you're doing half-point PPR, that's even worse than that. It's just terrible for someone you wanted to lean on and take you to the promised land, get you all warm and fuzzy feelings on the inside, but he just walked all over you. And last year, he did take you to the promised land, making you feel all warm and fuzzy, finishing as RB1, 3, and 2. It's just complete opposite. And all I have to say is, Breece Hall, you are a league loser in 2024. Much like the running back position, like I said, this one was the easiest to say. It's just a wide receiver who had 4 catches, 53 yards in 3 weeks for fantasy playoffs. Chat, do you know who this is? I'll give you some more clues. He had a non-rank in week 15. He was wide receiver 67. And in championship week this week, wide receiver 81. Do you know who it is? If you said Cooper Kupp, you're correct. He had one of the worst fallouts in recent memory. He crushed your hopes and dreams easily. If you played him in any of the one of those 3 weeks, he probably bounced you out of the playoffs, or even, after the first week of scoring 0. Yes, 0. I don't even think he had a target that game. If you had him start and then you're like, okay, well, let me just try him out again one more week, and you start him again, you probably got bounced in the first 2 rounds by far. He is just terrible performance overall. Especially, I'd consider him top 15 wide receiver in the league when he actually gets targets. Puka Nacua is Rams wide receiver 1, and it's probably going to be that way the rest of the way and even next year. So all I have to say is that Cooper Kupp, you, sir, are a league loser. Finally, the tight end position. It's a hard one to pinpoint. Like I said, for the league winner, you have to be consistent to be all 3 weeks in the top, 10. This one, for me, I had to pick. He's currently tight end 8 on the season, but the last 3 weeks have been duds. Tucker Kraft for the Green Bay Packers has finished tight end 27, 14, and 21. Terrible if you ask me for a player that's ranked in the top 10 at the position. So all I have to say for that, Tucker Kraft, you are a league loser. Did I miss anyone, chat? Put it in the comments. Let me know if I did or not. I want to know. And we will get to the Lions versus 49ers. It's the last Monday Night Football game of the 2024 season. Comes down to this game. There are plenty of implications on fantasy-wise with championships hanging in the balance, or even perhaps league winners too. Like I mentioned, the 3 for the Lions. Drop in the comments what you need, what you want to see, and who do you think is going? Are they going to be league winners? Is Gibbs going to be a league winner? Is Jared Goff, Sam LaPorta? Let me know. But I'll cover the Lions. Of course, you're going to start all these guys. Jared Goff has been on a rampage, and I just mentioned in the last couple weeks he's got 830 yards, 8 touchdowns. Jahmir Gibbs, you're starting him as well. There's no turning back anymore. These guys you have to start. He's the bell cow running back. Amon-Ra St. Brown, same thing. I need him to score like 23 points to get me the number 1 overall pick in a fantasy or dynasty league. Yes, that league is full of injuries. Jameson Williams is another player that you could easily plug. We seen last week. I think he finished wide receiver 4 on the season or on the week, and he's one play away from running an 82-yard touchdown easily. Every time he gets a ball, he's too fast, too quick for corners, and look for him to keep on going all the way. Sam LaPorta, is he a league winner? I don't know. I think he could be. The only downfall I have to say, though, and it's caution between these guys. Does the Lions play all their starters all game? I know Dan Campbell is a huge, let's get out there, bite them at the kneecaps, whatever else he wants to say for metaphors. Do they play? Because this game, to me, does not matter. Because if they win or lose, they play next week against the Vikings. I think Sunday Night Football game for the number one seed in the NFC, the division title as the NFC North champs. I don't know if they play the whole game. That's my only concern. They might just play a half and then rest their starters. That's my biggest worry and concern. I might have to put 49er players over these Lion guys just because it's the unknown. And I wish this game would have been last night or 3 p.m. with the Packer and Viking game, just because then they don't have to know, hey, do we win? Do we lose? What should we do? As for the 49ers, I think it's just hopefully recoup next year and regroup. Brock Purdy, though, if you have to play him, yes, because Lions have been giving up a lot of points to the quarterback position. Isaiah Guerrero, it's a bad team to run on. Lions are great, even if they're hurt. They're a great run-stopping defense. I would not be playing him. Deebo Samuel, I don't know what to think about this guy. He's been a turd all season, and I think he kind of continues this week as well, but he could be played if you need to. And, a lot of you guys don't really have much other options. So I would be playing him over Juwan Jennings. I don't like Juwan Jennings this week. I'd rather have Deebo Samuel over Jennings, or, George Kittle is another player. He's good as well. So he could be over Sam LaPorta if you have both of them. Congratulations. But it's just a hard game overall. It's just so many filled, championships in the line. It's hard to say, but I'm excited to watch it. And hopefully this brings you a championship. I think all these guys can be played if needed, or you probably have to, I guess, at this point. The biggest concern is the Lions. Do they play all their starters all game? That's my biggest worry and concern for anyone. But that is a wrap. That's my last episode of the year for myself. Thank you, Player Profiler, for the whole year of letting me do this. I'll be back next week, Monday, though. I'm going to do next week's show, all the injuries or anything like that that's happened in week 18, just especially for Dynasty or any of that purpose. But covering all those notes and news, but I'll also give my league awards out. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe, like. If you want expert analysis or fantasy tips, follow us as well. Remember to also follow us on Twitter for all the latest news and updates. Also, you can follow me, Louis Lewis 5. Good luck the rest of the tonight, fantasy playoffs. If you have fantasy playoffs next week, I guess good luck. Remember to change that next year. And from all of us here at Player Profiler and my family to yours, have a safe and happy holidays with the New Year's. Be safe, be smart, think about it, and I'll catch you guys next year. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.